Today we're speaking with Samia Merchant from Zero Harm Sciences, a vegan plant-based supplement. Welcome to the Wellness Matter Show.
Hi, Nicola. How are you doing today?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Perfect. So we're going to dive right into the interview. We often hear the phrase expensive urine when people talk about supplements. Biologically, what is happening in the body when we take nutrients or supplements?
So, my honest answer is it is very accurate, and it's quite unfortunate with the term expensive urine because you're spending good money on supplements. And you would, of course, want every single particle, every single nutrient that's packed into your supplements to be absorbed. But if you look at science and the way our digestive tract is designed, is only particles of a certain size can pass through. And if it cannot pass through the gut lining and into the digestive tract, essentially it gets excreted. And that's where the term expensive urine came from, where particles that go into your supplements, so it could be great quality ingredients, and that's not really what affects the absorption rate. It's essentially whether it has enough bioavailability, whether it is up to a certain size, so it can pass through to the digestive tract into circulation. So if the particle size is too large, it simply cannot, and there is no mechanism to transport it inside, and it goes into your urine. So a lot of the times you spend great amount in supplements that look good, they're formulated well, they're sourced well, but very little gets absorbed into your bloodstream, into your gut lining. And so, of course, it's really important to look at as well the kind of technology that brands take on to make sure that every single supplement, every single nutrient that you take is absorbed, because it's not just what you eat, but it's also about what you absorb.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. And do people know what bioavailability is or means?
So people don't always know what bioavailability is. I think there's still a lot of content overload. There's a lot of chatter. I think in the world today of wellness and supplements, there are a lot of trends, right? One day it was protein maxing. Right now we're on fiber maxing. Bioavailability is a term that we use a lot in pharmaceutical and nutraceuticals. And the reason we do that is because of this concept of everything that you put into your body, how much of it is actually available to your cells to be absorbed. So at Zero Harm, what we do is we work with a certain technology, which is nanotechnology, to make sure that we reduce the particle size to about 51 nanometer. So it is small enough to actually get into the gut lining, pass through circulation, and then it gets into bloodstream. And that's what's really important for us as an industry, as wellness practitioners, as brands as well, to actually educate our customers and our audience on why are you ingesting something? Why are you taking something? That it's not just about, as I said earlier, what you eat, it's about what you absorb. And so I think we still have a long way to go in terms of education with the industry. But that is something that we as a brand, we're trying to enhance and trying to ensure that we educate our customers so they as well understand what they're paying for.
Yeah, exactly. People need to know what they're ingesting, why they're, but it also differs from body to body, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. For sure. Look, I think there are a lot of factors. No body is the same. It's not a one size fits all. And that's why I say, right? I mean, the question is, which supplement should I take? And a lot of people always ask us this. And I say, well, naturally, first, you need to understand your body. If you haven't done your health checkups, if you haven't done your blood work, if you haven't paid your doctor a visit in a while, probably that's a good starting point, right? Because at the end of the day, everybody's different. So your age, your gut lining, your hormonal factors, all of that does, of course, play a big role in how things get absorbed into your body. And so, what are you deficient on? So maybe the first step would be to really understand what is happening in my body. What is my composition? Where do I need support on? And then mapping out for yourself, all right, this is what I probably can take into my routine, and then figuring it out.
Yeah, that makes sense because you can also take a lot of a certain nutrient, right?
Yes, exactly. So a lot of the times you can take, for example, vitamin C, right? And I think this also happens a lot of the times when we talk about should I take synthetic, lab created, let's say ascorbic acid versus what's in a food source. We can take that as an example. Your body probably needs a certain threshold of a certain nutrient, but a lot of the times, very potent supplements can actually give your body more than what it requires. So essentially, you're
Mm.
paying for this supplement that is giving you excess vitamin C. But if you've already touched the maximum threshold of what your body needs for vitamin C, the rest then goes into the concept that we call expensive urine. And so that's why
Mm-hmm.
it's really important to really understand for different nutrients. And again, that's why I say educate yourself, right? When you pick up a bottle, when you pick up a supplement in a pharmacy, you look online, always ask yourself, all right, this is a credible brand. This is a technology they use, but to look at the label and see the dosage. So take a look at and do a little bit of research, right? There's a certain max capacity, max threshold for every single nutrient. So we always think more the merrier. Not always,
Mm.
because yes, you could be for people who are deficient, they probably need that more of a supplement to then fill up the reserves that they're probably low on right now. So they
Mm-hmm.
probably need more to get to that optimal level. But if let's say your body and your level is already at an adequate level, your supplementation works very subtly. So you might not always see the
Mm.
difference. And that is where quality and bioavailability probably kicks in more because you're working with smaller margins. You need less of that. And that's why you want to make sure that you really have cellular availability. Otherwise, if it doesn't even pass through, it's not getting to
Mm-hmm.
your cells. And that's why it really comes down to making sure that you know what your body needs and you're also giving it the right dosage to only cater to what your body can absorb.
So we start with the GP checkup. You'd say that's probably the most essential to know where you stand. But then when consumers are at a drugstore and they're looking at all these supplements on the shelves, what should they look for on a label to make sure that they are buying correctly?
Couple of things. I'd first start off with the form of the ingredient. I'm sure you must have seen there are a lot of magnesiums floating around the market. And
Mm-hmm.
everyone is quite confused now. I think that's a great example. So if you look at magnesium oxide, it's quite cheap and widely used, but it has very low bioavailability. So essentially, it's not fully getting absorbed into your bloodstream and into your cells for usage. Magnesium glycinate absorbs significantly better than that of oxide. And the same
Mm-hmm.
principle applies across a lot of minerals. And then you want to also make sure that what the formulation has, it's products and formulations that enhance each other. So if we look at, let's say, curcumin, right? So in our curcumin, we've made sure that we have piperine extract. And the reason we do that is because these enhancers will increase the absorption of key ingredients. So black pepper significantly increases the absorption of curcumin and turmeric by about 2000%. And that's why it is really important that you look at formulations as well and not just the key ingredient, but enhancers and that will help with the absorption. And then the last one is particle size and delivery technology. So you'll see a lot
Mm-hmm.
of claims on bottles that say liposomal, they'll say
Mm-hmm.
nanoformulation, they'll say bioavailability, some might say micellar technology. And there is a reason they do that. And if a brand doesn't mention this, they probably are not using it. But the brands that do use it will actually go to the extent to claim this. And it is not a marketing trend, it is actual claims that help in how every product is engineered for absorption. Because it's not just about the ingredient quality and what is the key ingredient, but it's actually about how it's engineered. And finally, if you can't pronounce half of the ingredients, there probably a lot of them are fillers, artificial additives, and they actually add to a lot of overload on your liver. One thing that we don't realize
Mm-hmm.
is a lot of supplements as well have heavy metals. And over time, they compound. You take them over a
Mm-hmm.
month, you might think it's fine. You take them for another year, you don't realize, but it's not just a key ingredient that's getting to your blood cells, but you're putting a lot of
Mm-hmm.
liver overload. And then you have to go through a whole circle of detoxifying it. So rather than doing
Yeah.
that, look at products that are clean to begin with. So you don't have all these additional ingredients in the formulation that's probably not serving your body very well.
Yeah. And how would you identify heavy metals in supplements? So for people who don't know what they're looking for.
I probably would say it. So a lot of the times they're kind of like the very, very small percentages, or they'll be kind of like the 1 milligram, they'll be there. So it's kind of just the very small ways to find out what is what. The key ingredients will technically they will have the higher percentage. They'll be the ones with, let's say, 250 mg, for example. So these are the
Okay.
ways that we feel that they might just be other additional nutrients that are part of this blend,
Mm-hmm.
but in reality these are the ways that we can fit into formulations, these heavy metals, these fillers. Sometimes they even have colors in them and things that we don't really want to be putting into our body.
In terms of the technology that you were speaking of, can you tell us the difference between nanotechnology and the rest of the supplements on the market?
So nanotechnology is what we use internally at Zero Harm. And it is basically condensing the size, breaking it down to a nano level. So ours is 51 nanometers. And they're so small that the particles are very easily absorbed. And of course, if let's say you have a gram of a key ingredient. You're breaking it down to such a small level that it is more of the ingredient that spreads over the gut lining. And so you're actually increasing the surface area to volume ratio. So you're spreading it across
Okay.
more. You're increasing the likelihood of absorption. You're breaking it down so it spreads a lot more. And that's how you increase absorption. You increase more of the ingredient going to cells around the body. So that's what nanoformulation does. Then there is
Okay.
Liposomal, which is basically where you take the nutrient and you package it into fat. Now, this is really important more for fat-based vitamins, so like your A, D, E, K, that need fat to be soluble. So this sort of delivery is important for those vitamins because essentially those nutrients already have poor bioavailability on their own. So they need to be packaged in this liposomal delivery so that they almost have a vehicle around them that transports them across the gut lining. Because for fat soluble vitamins, like, as I said, A, D, E, K, they almost don't have a vehicle themselves to pass through the gut lining. And that vehicle for
Okay.
them is fat compounds. And so liposomal delivery helps with that sort of bioavailability for very specific nutrients. A lot of the times people put liposomal across all nutrients, but not all nutrients actually need that fat compound around it because they have bioavailability on their own. So a lot of the times what happens is you pay for this expensive technology that a brand has put across all of their nutrients, across all the formulations, but essentially you're just paying for the technology that is only serving some of the nutrients and not the rest. So you're paying for something that might already have 85% bioavailability on its own, but I've just gotten it with a regular supplement.
Okay, wow. And then that obviously affects the absorption rate as well, yes?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so we were talking about fat soluble supplements and how it needs to be taken with dietary fat or it's usually combined in supplement form. How does that affect a person when they take it first thing in the morning with coffee or without breakfast?
So this is an interesting one. Again, it is very easy in today's world to package all of your supplements together just for efficiency. I absolutely get it. People forget, people get busy. Suddenly they don't have their supplements in them and they're like, well, I haven't had a meal, but I want to take it. There are a lot of factors that naturally affect our busy lifestyles in today's world. However, one of the biggest mistakes that we can do is not taking it at the right time. So this really does matter. Now, let's take magnesium as an example. That helps with your muscle recovery, muscle relaxation, and sleep quality. So generally, you would probably want to take that at night. Fat soluble vitamins, on the other hand, so your A, D, E, K, they need to be usually taken with your largest meal of the day, especially anything that contains fat. Now, the reason why we do that, as I said earlier, was your fat soluble vitamins, your ADEK, they need a vehicle to be transported to the gut lining. So that vehicle for them is fat. So if you actually take it with a meal that has no fat, you're most likely just wasting that vitamin. It's actually not going to be absorbed because they are not even getting into your gut lining and they get added into your expensive urine. And so that's why even if you want to take it first thing in the morning with, let's say, just a cup of coffee, which I know is a practice for a lot of people, you have busy mornings, you just want a coffee. This is not ideal. So please don't quote me on this, but I would always recommend that if you really are going to do it, add a bit of whole milk. It can make a bit of a difference. It's still not going to, of course, get it to, let's say, 95% bioavailability. But for those who genuinely don't have any breakfast in the morning, take all of their supplements, especially their fat soluble vitamins in the morning with a coffee, little bit of fat, even in your coffee, can sort of trigger at least the absorption rate by a bit. So if you're going to put a little bit of milk, it's the easiest way to just make these small changes. But if you can, always have it with a meal of the day. It can be as simple as putting ghee. Again, ghee is a great fat. Put a little bit of fat in your eggs. Have it how you can have your fat soluble vitamins along. You want to have a bowl of even some of your nuts that have fats in it, have a bowl of
Mm-hmm.
nuts, then take your fat soluble vitamins. So these are small ways that you can just make changes in your daily routine to supplement the fat soluble vitamins. Then we have
Okay.
iron. Iron is it can actually be absorbed on an empty stomach, but I always recommend taking it with vitamin C. For example, I have my oranges usually in the evening with my berries. I take my iron in there. It's great because a vitamin C is one of the ingredients that actually boosts the absorption of iron absorption into your bloodstream by
Mm-hmm.
a significant amount. But of course, stay away from things like coffee, your tea, your calcium. Calcium is actually an important one when we talk about how two different ingredients and vitamins actually undermine the absorption. And the reason being is if you take your calcium supplement the same time as your iron supplement, they both are they're fighting for the same absorption channel. So essentially, you're not
Mm.
absorbing 100% of your calcium and your iron, and therefore always try to make sure you take those to different times of the day. So yeah, that's
Mm.
kind of like small ways that just to make sure that you do pulse out your vitamins during the day rather than just putting all in one. And then your
Yeah.
probiotics is a very good one to take before your meal. And the reason
Mm-hmm.
I say that is because there are strains of your prebiotics, your probiotics that help build and protect your gut lining. Now, when food goes into your body, there is stomach acid to break it down, to kill the bacteria, to churn it. If you put your probiotic post meal, you're essentially getting a part of that stomach acid that can reduce bioavailability of your pro and your prebiotics. So better to take your probiotics always pre-meal rather than post-meal to make sure that there is no clash or fighting with the food itself with stomach acid.
Yeah. And can you just explain why we need prebiotics and probiotics?
Absolutely. So your prebiotic is the fuel for the probiotic. So your
Okay.
probiotic is basically the strains, the nutrients that help with your bloating, with your IBS, with the strengthening of your gut lining to make sure that it's actually passing through the entire circulation. Your digestive system is almost an entire human on its own. It is where your bacteria lives. It's what controls the rest of your body. Is your whether it's your skin, it's your brain, it's your mood, it's your mental health, it's your actual digestion. Everything almost is controlled in your gut. And
Mm-hmm.
what controls the absorption and the health of that is your probiotic. But to make your probiotic work well, you need your prebiotic, which is almost the fuel that triggers good functioning of the probiotic. And that's why whenever you find a probiotic in a pharmacy, a lot of people forget that they actually need to find a blend of both pre and probiotic. And that's what we've done with our new launch cut army, where make sure that it is enough strains that helps with both the pre and the probiotic.
I actually wanted to go back to what you were talking about, the calcium and iron and how it sort of competes against each other.
Yes. Yeah.
What about multivitamins that have both?
So multivitamins, honestly, I think is an interesting one because there are a lot of people who think that, all right, I'm just going to pick up a multivitamin for women, right? There are multivitamins for men as well. And I think of course, they work well, but what we need to realize is it's not just about your ingredient quality, right? I focus a lot on this is you can source the best ingredients as a brand. You can have the best technology. But if two different ingredients are fighting for the same channels, then of course, naturally, you're not absorbing most of it. So things
Mm-hmm.
like your vitamin D and your K2, those two actually help really well with how they're absorbed. So for
Mm-hmm.
example, say you take vitamin D, it actually helps increase calcium absorption. And then your K2 comes in to make sure that the calcium is delivered to bones and not to soft tissue. And then your vitamin C and your iron. So C significantly enhances iron absorption. And then if you don't have enough magnesium in your body, it can actually inhibit vitamin D absorption because your vitamin D needs to be activated in your body into an active in it to make sure it actually gets absorbed. So we don't realize that interactions of nutrients are as important as formulations. So a lot of the times you have multivitamins that have an entire list of vitamins from your A, your E, your D, your K2, your Bs, all of it. But it's really important to make sure that you actually have an understanding as a consumer that what interacts each other, whether it is two ingredients coming together to actually better each other's absorption or it is ingredients coming together to undermine absorption. And that's why what we do at Zero Harm is we actually try to keep formulations quite simple. It's better to have supplements that do less but work well together and have high bioavailability rather than an ingredient formula that has everything packaged in it, but you're actually compromising on absorption. And that's why I always say is figure out what your body needs, right? Whether it is through your blood work or actually understanding that today, do I need to, in my life right now, let's say I'm losing hair. I need
Mm-hmm.
to work on my skin. I have bloating. These are my symptoms. And then figure out what is my entire ecosystem of specialized supplements rather than taking a multivitamin that probably has a very small dosage and they might even be interacting with each other that essentially is not even affecting your body as much or even being absorbed.
Interesting. It's funny. I started multivitamins last week, and the same day my husband had this unexplainable pain, and he's like, "I think it's the multivitamin." I'm like, "No, the vitamins should help." But now
Yeah,
what you're saying
usually,
makes,
yeah,
yeah.
usually multivitamins, of course, they are formulated in a way where each ingredient is not at such a high level where I would ever think that one would experience such symptoms or side effects, right? But of course, at the end of the day, always see, is there something that he might be allergic to? We're not sure, right? Maybe if
Mm,
there could be certain extracts of food sources that probably don't suit him. He might be intolerant to it. Definitely take a look at it, what the formulation has, because
mm.
it usually should not cause any troubles or any side effects, but it's always worthwhile actually assessing and taking a look at the formulation.
Is that quite important then to do a food sensitivity test before taking multivitamins or any vitamins in general?
Not necessarily. Again, for example, ours, you can take Zero Harm as an example. We're plant-based, right? So everything of
Uh-huh.
ours comes from food sources, technically. So we, of course, treat it in a lab to make sure that it doesn't have a lot of the times that extremely raw, let's say they have a lot of like flavonoids, they have
Okay.
phytonutrients in food sources. So of course they're treated in a lab in a way where we almost remove some of those side effects, which sometimes people who are intolerant can experience side effects. So usually you would not have to do any intolerance test to see, would this actually affect my body or not? It's always worthwhile because we don't know how intolerant he is, right? And that's why even
Uh,
intolerance happens on such a spectrum. Now, actually interesting, I'll talk about inflammation just for a second because one of the things that people always think about is I'm intolerant, I'm not allergic.
uh,
Now, what happens is your body might not, let's say, have hives. You might not have an allergic reaction on the front end. But if your body is intolerant, what you're basically putting into your body every day is something that it is rejecting. And the way that it's internally reacting is probably through inflammation. Chronic
oh,
inflammation over time for your body is disastrous. It can lead to cardiovascular pressure, it can lead to brain pressure. The inflammation is basically your body under constant stress. And that over
yeah.
time can even affect your hormonal imbalances, can give pressure on your cancer. There is a lot, we don't realize it, but a lot of the times people think that it's just a very simple thing. Oh, I'm intolerant, but I don't see anything. But you're putting pressure on your body in ways that you can see. That's why I always say
Yeah.
something might not be visible to you doesn't mean it's not happening. And you don't want to
Mm-hmm.
finally see it visibly 10 years down the line. So it's our
Yeah.
curcumin, for example, which is nature's ibuprofen almost that you can call it, is what they usually term it as. Curcumin as an ingredient is so important for you. Again, I'm from India. Our brand is from India. So of course, turmeric, curcumin is part of our palette constantly. Every
I would say,
single
yeah.
the Ayurvedic heritage has this plant in it because it's just been part of our entire roots, right? And so the
Yeah.
reason why we put in all of our foods is because it is nature's ibuprofen. That anything you put into your body has an anti-inflammatory compound and ingredient attached to it. And so that's why, again, taking curcumin is not just because, oh, I'm sick, I need to increase my immunity. It actually helps combat the internal inflammation that your body might be having that you might not even know about. And that's
Yeah.
one of the products or one of the supplements that I would actually recommend people to take constantly on a daily basis is because there's a lot of inflammation that we just don't always see that's happening internally.
And is there a reason why you would recommend the supplement instead of its natural form? Is there a certain amount that we need to be consuming every day?
Yes, the reason why I would recommend the supplement over food, again, I always say food, of course, if you can have it, right? Put it in your diet, add it in there. But the reality is, we don't know how it interacts with the oil. It is being overheated, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of processing actually happening as we cook food. And what you see in the supermarket is not always in the purest form, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's not the actual curcuminoids. It's processed, mass-produced turmeric that probably doesn't have the nutrients that you really need for you to say this is anti-inflammatory in my diet. What we
Mm-hmm.
do is go to the sources where we have an entire supply chain process where we source our curcumin from. And it's from in because it's not just turmeric. Now, turmeric is the actual plant, and it's only the curcuminoids that's in the turmeric that is actually anti-inflammatory. So even when you're using it, it's not your entire turmeric that goes into our supplements. It's the curcuminoids that's from the turmeric plant that is the one that holds the anti-inflammatory compound. Now, what you see on your shelves in the
Okay.
supermarket might not be the curcumin only, is the rest of the turmeric that doesn't always serve that exact purpose. And that is why we
Mm.
always say to get this benefit, it's better to then take curcumin supplements rather than putting it just in your food.
Okay, interesting. And with those supplements, do you have to take it at any particular time of day?
The curcumin, honestly, is one of those that you can take anytime during the day. You can take it on an empty stomach. You can take it with foods, but always take a look at what enhancer is with curcumin. So we have pepperine extracts, so which is from pepper, and that, as I said, is there for a reason to enhance the absorption of curcumin. And it is shown in studies that it increases the absorption by 2000%. So almost if you don't have pepper or pepperine extract in your formulation, it's probably, again, as I said, not your minimum 85% bioavailability that you would want for an ingredient.
How interesting. We usually do golden milk lattes at home. My daughter loves it as well. But yeah, now that you're talking about like what it actually does, and it is anti-inflammatory, it's got a lot of benefits.
I would say, one of the most holistic ingredients that we can have. So golden lattes, again, in India, we call it haldi doodh, haldi milk. Again, it's one that has been around for the longest time. And if you actually look at our mother nature, we've had all of these ingredients, all of the plant-based that we eat, whether it's at food, whether it's right through food sources or it's through our plant-based supplements. We've had all of this richness in our environment for so long. And that's what we do, right? It's our brand is rooted in nature. The actual wisdom comes from the nature. Science has just
Mm-hmm.
helped us discover it, right?
Yeah.
So science at the end of the day is for us to figure out how and what we can do with it. But the reality is we're still going back to the sources to figure out what do we really need that we can extract from our source. Whether you call it
Mm-hmm.
Ayurveda, you had Chinese medicine, again, TCM has gone viral.
Yeah.
One of the many virality elements that we have with fiber maxing, TCM again is a big element, big conversation, right?
Yes.
And the reason why I think in today's world, we're actually going back almost to look at what did people multi-generationals ago do is because there was so much wisdom. How is it
Mm-hmm.
that without the same lab and synthetic compounds and processes and technology, they were still able to live long lives, be healthy,
Mm-hmm.
be strong? There's a reason because we've always had it. Our nature has not changed. It's about what we do with our nature. And so that's why our
Mm-hmm.
there are two taglines that we stand by is you are what you absorb, and wisdom in nature, but just enhanced by science. It's really the two almost ethos that we have as a brand. And I think if we live by that, even as individuals, and we make small changes, we'd actually see a significant difference in how we feel, how we look, and how we function on
Mm-hmm.
a daily basis.
Yeah, you've inspired me to sort of overhaul my diet a little bit, or at least supplementation, and really think carefully about what I'm putting into my body.
Yeah.
When it comes to something like vitamin C, is the body using synthetic vitamin C supplements in the same way as vitamin C in its whole food form or natural food form? Are there any benefits from the natural food matrix that we may be missing?
So the good news is ascorbic acid as a molecule
Okay.
is absorbed and treated the same way in the body, whether it comes from a lab or it comes from an orange. And the good news is because you can kind of now take your pick in which way you want to actually absorb it. So your body actually doesn't distinguish between them at a molecular level.
Okay.
So of course you can take your pick. what the benefit of having an orange or a food source of ascorbic acid, aka vitamin C, where it kind of comes in as a meaningful difference is if you take a whole food source of vitamin C. So let's say you're taking a bunch of oranges in the evening, you're not just getting ascorbic acid, you're not just getting vitamin C. Alongside that,
Mm-hmm.
what you're also getting are other nutrients like your bioflavonoids, your phytochemicals, your fiber, which is very important for how things are pushed in your gut lining. And so these cofactors influence the vitamin C, how it's absorbed, retained, and used. And that's why I still say whole food sources still are very good. And they also tend to have slower absorption curves. Now, of course, depending on the time of the day, what you've had, your meal, supplements can still be impacted, as that's why we have the whole conversation about at what time should I take this vitamin versus that is because
Mm-hmm.
timing is a lot more important for supplements than they are for whole food sources. So when you take a whole food source of vitamin C, it tends to have
Mm-hmm.
lower absorption curves, kind of those ups and downs, and that actually leads to better tissue absorption. And when you take very high doses of ascorbic acid, let's say in supplements, it may actually exceed how much your body can take in into the gut. And so if you actually reach the max threshold or the capacity of vitamin C that can be taken into your gut, that then gets excreted and it goes into your expensive urine. And so
Mm-hmm.
your whole food source does, it rarely delivers high enough because it's not lab created, right? It still comes from Mother
Mm-hmm.
Nature. And so it comes at a level, at a capacity that tends to be triggered to just to the level that your gut lining can absorb. Now, what we've done at Zero Harm is a bit different, where we're not we're not building formulation based on synthetic ascorbic acid. All of
Mm-hmm.
our vitamin C comes from true extracts of food sources. So we have something called Cerola cherry, which is a true vitamin C source of it's a whole food source, and so that goes into our skin radiance. It's gone into our collagen builder as well, and that's a true food source vitamin C. Now, because it comes from a whole food extract, that naturally also comes in with its natural cofactors, as I mentioned, the bioflavonoids, the phytochemicals, the fiber, which is super important. So we're not just giving people in our supplements synthetic ascorbic acid, we're actually giving them almost the same benefit that you would experience with a whole food source, but just now in a package, in a supplement form. And so you're kind of getting this similar absorption profile.
Very interesting. Okay. In terms of supplements in general, is there a reason why it's better to take certain ones earlier in the day rather than later in the day because it affects energy or anything else in the body?
So look, if I think of it extremely just scientifically, right? One of the
Mm-hmm.
points that I mentioned, even for let's say your pre and probiotics, as you eat
Mm-hmm.
during the day, there is a lot of stomach acid that is pushed out to digest everything that you've taken over the course of the day. A lot of the supplements can also interact with stomach acid because they get broken down when they don't need to be broken down. So if let's say you take a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the times, let's say your pre and probiotic, which needs to be taken on an empty stomach because it really is focused on the gut, it can kind of get absorbed with the food and the stomach acid post meal. Your magnesium, on the other hand, I would definitely never take it during the day because it helps with your muscle relaxation. It helps with your sleep quality. And that's not what you need for recovery during the day because you actually kind of you need to be a bit more boosted in your energy rather than feeling relaxed. And therefore, we always recommend taking magnesium more towards the end of the evening or at night rather than in the morning.
That was something I was going to touch upon as well because I think my multivitamin has magnesium in it. And I was wondering, it feels like this should be consumed at night, but then that amount must be a small amount then if it is in the
Yeah.
multivitamin.
Well, very, very small. But again, everybody reacts so differently, right? And so,
Mm,
of course, if it has magnesium and you feel that it may have made you a bit sluggish, let's say around 3 p.m. because you've taken it in the morning, try to maybe moving it a little bit later in the day. So you're right. In a multivitamin, the magnesium dose would still be small enough that it wouldn't make you feel quote unquote sleepy per se.
mhm,
Not that it's still not melatonin, right? So
mm,
it's not something that will make you feel sleepy. It's just a nutrient that relaxes you, that your body automatically gets into a rhythm where it could feel relaxed. You kind of get the green signal that you can sleep. So it's very
mm.
different, of course, in melatonin. But again, in a multivitamin, it will still be very small that it wouldn't give you that sort of feeling. But just to be on the safe side, probably take it around 5, 6 p.m. with your snack or your fruits for the evening.
Okay. 'Cause I've been taking my vitamins in the morning with breakfast, but now I'm like, maybe I should take it around lunchtime. But then for people who do want those relaxing sort of effects.
I don't think a multivitamin would ever give
Mm.
you that desired outcome.
Okay.
So if you're taking, let's say, pure magnesium glycinate, you're taking magnesium in general, like for sure, like I would definitely never take magnesium anytime before 7 p.m.
Okay.
So yeah, so definitely because that's when you kind of want to wind down, and also your muscles at that point
Yeah.
have worked 20 almost 24 hours, so they are tired. It kind of gets into a bit of a sluggish, very relaxed. Think of it as if gravity is pulling you down, right? Rather than
Hmm.
pushing you back up. So kind of that little factor, just an analogy to compare it. So definitely try taking around 6, 7 p.m. in the purest form.
Okay. And something that's not on my list, but I just remembered is ashwagandha.
Yes.
That is also starting to pop up in a lot of supplements and people are consuming it quite a bit. I do know a friend who consumes it earlier in the day because she says it's quite relaxing and it just helps to sort of calm the nerves a bit. Could you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So ashwagandha is, again, it comes from Mother Nature. It's definitely another extremely holistic ingredient. And people have seen
Oh.
incredible results, whether it is on their mood, it's on their focus, it's on relaxation, just overall regulation in their body, because it does help them feel a
Mm-hmm.
bit more in equilibrium. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it can be taken any time in the day. Again, it's not one that would ever impact your sleep or make you feel sluggish. It's just purely a think of it as a calming energy. You go for a meditation, you go for sound healing. It's almost that in a supplement form that just makes you feel really regulated. And I think it's really
Mm-hmm.
important to look at these ingredients, especially in a world where we are overly stimulated. We have digital ADHD. Everyone seems to have it now. There is a lot of content fatigue and overload. We have extremely busy lives. It's really important to actually look at ingredients and how they actually make you feel regulated. So definitely, again, that's a great ingredient. Also, by the it is,
Perfect.
yeah, because it is banned in the UAE now and it's highly
Oh.
regulated. It's now regulated on a pharmaceutical level, not a nutraceutical supplement level. So it's not over the
Oh.
counter anymore unless it is, well, over the counter medicine that is prescribed from your doctor.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's now highly regulated in the UAE.
Okay. I actually read a study recently that said you should not be consuming ashwagandha for more than 3 months. It's because it does have a strong effect on your body in the long run.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
they're doing a lot of research now on ashwagandha on actually the side effects of it. Look, I still think when taken in small doses, and of course, in general, seed cycling is an important concept, which kind of goes back to your the 3 month of not taking it. And maybe by the way, we can add this into
Mhm.
your podcast is the term seed cycling, where almost like you see what your body needs over time and give your body a little bit of time to maybe detach and withdraw from it, from any supplement rather than taking every day. So you take a supplement for 3 months, maybe pause for 2 weeks, give it a breather, almost a recovery. So your body doesn't always need a supplement to be dependent on it to give it the boost that it needs for XYZ outcome. And that's where this
Yeah.
entire concept of seed cycling came from. That is, give your body, let's say, give it 1 week off. You work out in the gym. We all take a recovery day. Try to do that even for supplements, right? Because at the end of the
Mhm.
day, you don't know what your body needs. We don't know, the body's changing, blood work changes. Maybe you don't need this anymore. Maybe you're
Yeah.
counter interacting with other things. And so give your body always, let's say a 1 or 2 week breather from any supplement if you've taken it at a stretch for a couple of months, and then you can restart.
Okay. That's very interesting. I have never heard of that before, but it
Yeah,
does make sense. We do that with skincare as well.
exactly.
Yeah. So why not supplements? Which ones do you think are genuinely worth taking and why?
Going to answer this more for the UE market or more broader a little bit for the GCC market, because of course your environment does impact in the nutrients that you receive from the environment or what needs, the deficiencies and all. So it's funny because we live in a sunny country. So naturally you would think that we're all high in vitamin D, but it's funny because it's the opposite. Dubai has, or the UAE for that matter, has a very high percentage of vitamin D deficiency in the
Mhm.
population. And the reason being is we might be in a sunny country, but we're not always outdoors because of the heat. Because you're not outdoors, that does limit how much vitamin D you absorb from the sun. And
Mhm.
you probably only take in the most amount of vitamin D from the sun, I would say, kind of in the AM. So if you're going for an outdoor walk around 7 a.m., 8 a.m., even, of course, earlier the better because it does increase the absorption of vitamin D from the sun. But if you're going for an outdoor walk around that time, that's kind of when it's at the optimal level when your body actually takes in the good nutrients from the sun. But the reality is, we of course don't do that. And so that's why the most of us are left with vitamin D deficiencies in the UAE. And so definitely that is one to look into. If you haven't done your blood work, definitely do it today because it's really important to know whether you have a vitamin D deficiency or not, because it actually does
Mm-hmm.
affect your entire body. Your hair thinning can be vitamin D. How your energy levels are, vitamin D. Your bloating as well, to a certain extent, of how your body is moving in terms of the fuel and how much you can digest. It can also come down to vitamin D. Your vitamin D affects your entire body. And that's what's really
Mm-hmm.
important to actually first and see, are you deficient, which is very likely in here, and then find a formulation of vitamin D that can come with a K2 formulation because that helps with the absorption of all the nutrients in your body. So definitely one to look at. Another one I would recommend for everyone is omega-3 EPA plus DHA. Now, most diets are skewed towards omega 6. Unless you're eating oily fish 2 to 3 times a week, you're not probably always getting your EPA as well, your EPA plus DHA off omega 3. And that's why definitely look at which omega 3 you're taking, which one you have. Otherwise, definitely find something if you don't have right now, a EPA plus DHA, because omega 3 is so important. It helps with the balance of your inflammation, your brain function, and your cardiovascular health, which all are extremely important for not just how you are today and how you feel, but what you feel in the next 20, 30 years. And I think in the
Yeah.
conversation as well of the world right now, where things are so focused on your aesthetic today and how you look and just going to the clinic to, touch on your skin and the front end. I think that's important. Of course, I think self-care and how you look always is important for yourself, but also think about, how do I want to see myself, or how do I want to feel in the next 20, 30 years? What you do today for your inflammation, as I said earlier, really does matter, because if you don't treat your inflammation in your body today, that can lead to chronic inflammation, which then can push out, like can increase the probability of cancer, cardiovascular issues, and you definitely don't want that. Another one is magnesium. Again, your body is under a lot of chronic stress, and your magnesium is the one ingredient that just kind of like helps you relax, whether it's your muscles, it's your mood, it's just the overall de-stressing of your body. And a lot of people are running low on this, so that definitely helps boost that. And then check your diet, your health goals, check your blood work. And I think what is happening to a lot of people, and it's because primarily we're experiencing a time where everything is processed. Even our chicken, right? It's boosted with hormones. There's a lot of process, there's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of added elements and ingredients to everything that we consume and from the supermarket.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot of bad stuff in it, really. And so everyone right now is experiencing bloating. Everyone seems to have IBS. Everyone seems to have irregular
Mm-hmm.
bowel movements and digestion. And that's why it's so important to then focus on your gut health. And again, I think it's so interesting because back in the day, we always thought, you have this, take this supplement. But long gone are the days, because we don't realize that our body is almost a domino effect. What happens in my gut affects my brain. What happens in my gut shows on the front end on my skin. How my brain feels comes back to my gut bacteria, because you're happy, you have good bacteria, happy bacteria that influences your mental health too. And so everything in
Mm-hmm.
your body is so connected. We're complex beings. We're not as simple as a machine. Although we run as fast, as diligently as a machine, we're also one of the most complex creatures of this world. And everything is linked. And that's why it's really important
Mm-hmm.
to look at ingredients and products that really give you that holistic wellness that we all are working towards right now. And in Dubai, given the water, the climate, all of it, it's so important to really focus on yourself. And again, just make sure that whatever supplement you take at, whatever you look at in a pharmacy, go with one principle. It doesn't matter just what you take, it also is about what you absorb. So a mediocre ingredient sometimes that reaches your cells will probably outperform a premium ingredient that doesn't, because it really is what you absorb rather than what you eat.
Very interesting. I like the list that you've suggested as well. For people who are at the gym or starting to work out again or really want to help supplement their journey at the gym, would you recommend any supplements for that?
Look, I don't take anything gym related. I really don't.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why like I can comment on it. Like I take lion's mane, I honestly I take all of our zero harm supplements.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I kind of stick to those and it's funny because I say this and I have a supplements brand, but I think, simplify your diet. First, ask yourself, am I doing the basics? And there are a couple of basics that everyone should be doing. It's kind of like a non-negotiable, I would say. Number one is
Mm-hmm.
movement. Move
Mm-hmm.
your body. We don't realize how important movement is for our body, whether it is
Mm-hmm.
for your glucose spikes, it's for your blood circulation, it's to help with your joints, the lubrication of it. All of it is so important, or even lymphatic drainage, right? Comes down to movement. Move your
Mm-hmm.
body. A lot of the times we'll say, all right, I'm going to do my 10,000 steps all at night. But if you're sitting and having a sedentary lifestyle all day and then you only do your 10,000 steps a night, not that it's bad, but try moving
Mm-hmm.
your body consistently during the day. Best practice, do a 10-minute walk in the morning when you first wake up. Don't use your phone. That's going to get your fluids up and running. It's going to boost your metabolism. And finally, you
Mm-hmm.
actually need high cortisol in the morning. So a lot of the times people say that I can't sleep well. It's probably your cortisol. Your cortisol is in fight and flight mode and it's actually fighting with your body to stay up because it actually thinks someone is running behind it and it needs to protect itself. And that is why, because we've conditioned ourselves that we always need to be on the go. When you wake up in the
Mm-hmm.
morning, the moment you get your movement in, it actually boosts your cortisol a little bit. And you kind of need it, I would say, because it's also what triggers your metabolic process. And you want to kickstart your morning with a metabolic kickstart just so that it helps digest in the morning. It's when your fat loss, everything happens the highest in the morning and you set your day up in the right way. So movement in the morning is so important, even if it's a 10-minute walk, whether it's in your apartment, you go around your house, you do an outdoor walk, that's even better. So movement
Mm-hmm.
definitely during the day is important and try to get in at least like a 5-10 minute walk after every meal. It's almost a very ancient practice. After every meal, everyone would go for a 10-15 minute walk. And it really does help with how your glucose spikes and your weight loss journey can massively be managed if you do these small, if you try to make these small changes. Because your
Mm-hmm.
glucose spikes is really what controls your inflammation and your weight loss. So again, I would say movement is number one. Number two is assess what are you eating. 70% of your body and how it looks and how it feels comes down to your nutrition. So food really plays a big role. Have your protein. I always say this to everyone. Don't think for today. Think about how you want to feel and look 10, 20 years down the line. It all
Mm-hmm.
compounds. The decisions that you make today will impact later down the line. Again, there are a lot of quick wins in life, your GLPs, all of that. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure technology is coming in place to come up with a lot of these quick wins. But if we can already prep ourselves to be at its optimal health level in the next 20 years with few changes like your protein max, make sure most of your plate is divided into protein and veggies, and then have you a small part fiber and your fat. That's all your body needs. And those small changes can give you, whether it's you want a certain defined look or how you even feel on the inside, your inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, and then just the small changes of if you have an inflamed body, take your berries, have your nuts, right? Like what you even consume during the day in its purest form can make such a big difference. And then the last is your supplements, right? That comes in almost as that additional support system into your body. A lot of the times, of course, in 24 hours in the day, you won't always be able to eat everything. The few supplements that your body really needs, but simplify your life. I think today what's happening in the world is there are a lot of options. And unfortunately, commercialization has allowed us to build a narrative for everything that your body needs everything. We don't realize why certain medicines, why certain supplements have come now in the front line. It's purely because certain companies wanted to push a certain agenda and a certain sales target. And so always think about, do I really need it? Do your blood work? Be aware. And yeah, just simplify everything, that you take into your body.
Yeah, what you eat on a daily basis really does affect so much in your body. Could you give us
Absolutely.
an example of what your plate looks like or just your diet in general?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. So I wake up in the morning and I have coriander water. So I take
Mm.
coriander seeds, boil it for about 5 to 6 minutes. And the reason I have coriander seeds boiled water is because it helps with thyroid and hormone regulation. Probably one of the best waters that you can have. I was diagnosed with hyperthyroidism as early as 14 years old, which is very early for anyone to experience hormonal conditions. I had it when very early. So I've gone through my entire journey of how I've understood my body, what I've had to take, with the several doctor visits I've had to do for a big part of my life. And so I always had to control my hormones. And so then I went on thyroxine. I had to do a radioactive iodine treatment at the age of 21 to kill my thyroid gland, so it doesn't exist anymore, and it had to be put into a room by myself, a closed room for 7 days, because your body basically, with that iodine, it is a radioactive medicine that you take, and it is so high in radiation that nobody could come close to me because it was dangerous. So had to sort of hibernate in my own red bedroom for 7 days. Had to have everything in a paper plate. Nobody could come close to me, but my thyroid gland got killed. I didn't have that condition anymore, hyperthyroidism, which is really hard to control. And I experienced 5 kgs weight loss in a month randomly, lost all my appetite. So definitely had to do something about it. Now, one of the side effects of doing the radioactive iodine treatment is your body within a year might then move to the other thyroid, is hyperthyroidism. Of course, not ideal, but it's easier to control than hyperthyroidism because there is a lifetime medicine for hyperthyroidism, but then you experience weight gain, you experience dry skin, you experience a lot of brain fog. So when my body goes through sometimes brain fog episodes, I know my balance is a little off the charts. Coriander seeds is great with hormone regulation, and I have been taking it consistently every single morning on an empty stomach for the last 3 months, and I can say it's probably the best that I've felt, and my TSH has significantly come down. So I have that, and the best part is I take my water, I walk outdoor for 10 minutes while I'm drinking my water, so kind of kill two birds with one stone. Then I move into my second water, so I have a whole water morning. I have
I love
warm
it.
water with curcumin, with pepper, with a little bit of ghee in it, ginger juice a little bit, and a tiny bit of honey. Have that blend in the morning to kickstart my inflammation and my boost my gut lining in the morning. And then I have my scrambled eggs with a sourdough, avocado. And then for lunch, it really depends. We make a lot of Indian food at home, so I'll have a grilled chicken with the Indian veggies, or make a different bowl. So I love spicing up my palate. My bowl always needs to look colorful. That's all I really worry about. My biggest thing is always either I'll have a fish or I'll have a big chicken breast, kind of my go-to, and then the rest can just be add-ons in my bowl. Then evening, I'll take my Brazil nuts because again, it has selenium, which is one of the best things that your body can have for again hormonal regulation. So I have that with my berries. With that, because I have vitamin C in my berries, with my oranges as well, I'll take my iron pills at that point. And then at night, again, kind of just do a repeat of my bowls, just to spice it up.
Okay, that sounds lovely. That water, the turmeric water with honey and ginger, that sounds really nice.
It's amazing. That I've been taking for years now. Like that's the one thing. The only thing I've switched now is 3 months ago. I introduced coriander seeds before that. Oh, and then before sleeping again. This one is, I think, would work well for everyone. Going back to roots. Really, no one can deny the wisdom of Mother Nature, and what people did back in the day is cumin water. I swear by it. Everyone on Instagram, everyone on social media, all my friends, everyone complains I have bloating. And I say the best fix for that is going back to the seeds that we have in our pantry. So I put fennel seeds, cumin seeds, and a little bit of cinnamon sticks, because cinnamon is also great for your blood sugar control. Probably one of the best things that you can add into your diet. Boil all of them, and I have that water every night before sleeping. Again, the warmth as well kind of soothes you down, so it's great to just shut your body. But yeah, I think that's a great one, especially when today everyone right now on Instagram is talking about bloating. Well, this is the best fix for you.
Yeah, we also do cumin seeds in water, not boiled. We kind of just put it in hot water and consume that. But does it have to be boiled?
Boil it because it's what is taking all of its nutrients out. Boiling is what's going to help with that to really get the desired benefits. Another thing I've recently started doing is I put a touch of saffron in my water. Reason being,
Mm,
so saffron, like how you have curcumin known to be nature's ibuprofen, saffron is known as nature's antidepressant. So saffron is actually shown to massively help with people's mood and mental health. So I put a touch of saffron in my water. So kind of just giving it a very holistic water. So I get my mood
mm,
boosting, I get my bloating all in one water.
nice. It smells lovely as well.
It's beautiful.
I do like the idea of consuming these in water forms because when you're hydrating and then you're
Exactly.
also ingesting all
It's a
these
quick fix, right?
powerful,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think warm water in general is very good for your gut. It calms it down, right?
Mm,
It's great to just keep it warm and compact and keep it running, right? The fuel needs to, it's like a car. It needs the fuel. It needs to keep
mm-hmm,
pumping itself. And the warmth actually helps keeping it intact. And so you're getting the warm water, you're getting the water with hydration, you're getting the ingredients. It's benefit driven. So again, it's one of the easiest ways. And that's why I say there is so much that we can, if you open up your pantry, there is so much that you can do. And that's kind of how
mm-hmm,
Zero Harm was built is we realized that we have access to all of this, especially in India, which is one of the richest countries with purest forms of ingredients, right? There is massive agriculture. Um,
mm,
the farms, right? That's really where the Ayurvedic practice even was born, right? That's what the true wisdom of food came about from. And so we realized that we have access to all of these ingredients, which basically sits in our pantry, but people are cooking it with
mm,
the oil and in stove and heating it and all of that. Why don't we just
mm,
package all of this into supplements? And so that's really how Zero Harm was what came about together. And then we thought about it that, all right, you're taking all of this, but what if you can't absorb it? It doesn't go to your cells. And then
mm.
that's how we found our nanotechnology, where a couple of PhD students also came on to do a lot of clinical studies, a lot of formulation testing and trying with all of our plant-based formulations to then build that, okay, this can actually be absorbed at this level. We tested it out, it works. And then only every product was created.
Yeah, that's incredible. And how long ago was Zero Harm created?
6 years
Or,
ago.
okay.
So we have Sachin, who is the founder of Zero Harm Sciences. He founded in India. And I met Sachin about 2 years ago. And we just happened to have a chat about this. And I was like, well, you should have the brand here. It will work super well. And again, I had worked for Johnson and Johnson, worked for Sephora, worked for Amazon. Again, I'd always done this for everyone else. And I'm like, I can do it for you. And so we now co-own the office in the UAE, and it's been a year and a half operating here.
Lovely. And were you always interested in supplements and just science behind nutrients and stuff in general?
Yeah. Well, at one point, like probably a lot of people, I had the ambition to be a doctor. Didn't have
Mm,
happen. So I think I've always been interested, even in as small as, as high school and middle school, I loved biology. Thought I was going to become a doctor. So in general, I've always been very fascinated and really enjoy science and anything healthcare related. And because
mm,
I have gone through my journey of experiencing a lot of, illnesses and disorders and my entire journey from 14, right? I mean, most people don't even know they're just having fun. The kids are
mm,
playful. I was sitting under a doctor every day, had some issue. My muscles were fully depleted. So again, because I've gone through my personal journey, I've learned a lot in the process. And so I think naturally on a personal level, I took interest in it. Then on an academia educational level, anyways, I had always enjoyed it. And so that's why I think this venture made so much sense for me because it is one that I see a lot of personal passion in.
yeah, makes sense. And it's a shame that you've had to go through all of that, but you've done so well with it. I'm looking at you now, and yeah, it's incredible how much you've learned and how much you've gained in the process as well.
Yeah,
It's truly
thank you.
incredible. Finally, moving away from supplementation into your day, could you tell us your wellness butter recipe and how you nourish, rejuvenate, and play during the day?
Absolutely. So my wellness is very simple. I believe in simplicity and consistency. So start off my morning with movement, just a 10-minute walk with the 10 billion waters that I have, whether it's coriander seed water, my lemon, turmeric water, all of that. But I like starting my morning with a bit of movement and away from your screen, which is what most people do. And foods that I recognize, I like feeling that I can actually see all my ingredients on my plate. So even if I have my bell pepper or my chicken, I want to see the colors really coming about. So again, not everything needs to be processed and packaged and overloaded with sauces. I really just like seeing things in the most simple form. And supplements. So I take vitamin D, I take my iron, I take omega, I take prebiotic, probiotic, the lovely gut army that we have, which launched this week. So please do check it out. And for my skin, I spend so much time taking care of my skin. It is like my form of self-care. So whether it is through our supplements that we have, which is a skin radiance with glutathione, or really just going through my skincare. So I am obsessed with Korean skincare and I religiously use it. So I do that. And every evening before sleeping, my legs are up. And that is the most important thing for me because with being, having your own company, running it, and with the amount of content overload that we have, everyone wanting to be on their A game and just a rigor of life. It's just like having a very simple day. And the one thing that I look forward to are my workouts. So I recently even joined a dance class for Saturday mornings. I love Pilates. So just really keeping things that I enjoy. But one thing that I would say that is really my wellness butter is coming back to yourself with doing what it wants. So all of this that I said is what my usual day would look like every day of the week. But if there are days that I don't want to do something, I don't do it. I think it's so important to just be kind to your body and listen to it. A lot of the times you think, oh, today I've been worked out, like I was really lazy. That's fine. Be okay to accept what what your mood is, what your body's feeling, how you talk to yourself. And I think that's the best thing that we could do to our bodies and our mind to be kind to ourselves. I don't like anyone telling anyone, be this way, or you should be this way, or to be this, you have to do this. Just kind of figure out what your daily rituals are and habits, and it's fine. And it all comes about over time. We're all so focused on being like someone else, but first ask yourself, what do I want to see myself as? And work towards it. And that's what every day of mine is, just simple, because I think that's the max that I can manage.
Yeah, I think self-discovery is also so important for your personal journey.
For
It's where
sure.
you really truly find yourself. And do you have any places in Dubai where you like to go to rejuvenate
Oh my God,
or
yes. So I'm
yes?
obsessed with soul movement. I
Okay.
love their sculpt class with Lisa. She's
Hmm.
incredible.
Okay.
And I go to pause. Usually that's kind of like my Sunday morning with my friends. It's a one time of the week where we all get together. We have the class booked for Pilates, and then we'll always do lunch together. But
Nice.
I love just like, honestly, I love eating out as well. But even when I eat out, I'm quite intentional and conscious about what I eat. I love
Okay.
M Sharif. I think it's like my favorite Lebanese restaurant in Dubai.
Mhm.
Tasha's is a great go-to for me always.
Yes.
So yeah,
Hmm.
I love cafes. I love trying new things. And that's the thing, even when you're when it comes down to simplicity, have fun. If you want to do something,
Yeah.
do it, right? I mean, Dubai is such an exciting city. It is such a wellness oriented city. And I think there's
Agree.
a reason, right? But how do you make wellness fun? It doesn't have to be boring, doesn't have to be just all cold plunges. Find what your definition of wellness works. And I think Wellness Butter is a great platform where you're promoting that concept of making it fun as well. Like I see how you have conversations with everyone, with different professionals, with different experts. And I think it's just really nice doing it in a city like Dubai where people love meeting everyone. There's a sense of community. And another thing I'd
Yes.
say is I think Dubai is one of the places where community matters more than any other place. People support each other, people look out for each other. There's a sense of respect, there's a sense of tolerance. And I think having all of that under the umbrella of wellness is, I think, one of the best things that we could do for us in society.
So, so true. Perfect. Well, thank you so much,
No,
Samia. I
thank
loved
you.
your wellness butter recipe and I loved learning how you go about your day. And yeah, this is exactly what we aim to do at Wellness Butter. We really just want to make wellness fun for everyone. It's all about balance. It's always been about balance and it's always about what works best for you.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Perfect. Well,
Appreciate you
thank you
having
so
me.
much. Thank you. Thank you, Samia. And we will chat again soon.
Sounds good. Take
All
care. Bye
right.
bye.